This is a podcast about one woman's mission to help entrepreneurs and business owners write better business books. Each week, we tackle your writing excuses, because there are excuses too, and help you beat the blank page of doom so that you can write the book that'll grow your life and your business. Now here's your host, Vicky Fraser.
Hello and welcome to the 1000 Authors Show. I'm Vicky Quinn Fraser, and this week we are reissuing an old podcast from the before times from late 2019, in which Joe and I were talking about the value of doing hard things. And I thought this was pretty appropriate for now, because we've just all spent 2 years of just one long hard thing, and so perhaps you might be thinking, oh, I don't want to do any more hard things, jeepers. And, that's perfectly reasonable. So I thought I'd reissue this podcast because it's good timing. And obviously I'm talking about writing books and running businesses and all that kind of thing. And we talk a little bit about how getting to the top of your tree can often be boring and unpleasant. So we do need to just suck it up and do it. We do need to do the things every day to get better. But we can also make it as much fun as possible. Because if it's just all grind and misery, as we, I think, all know from the last 2 years, it just makes us want to stop and give up. I know that I've on more than one occasion just wanted to hibernate over the past couple of years. And in fact, have just done that on a few occasions. But if we can make, if we've got a specific thing that we want to achieve, like writing a book, and we can make it a bit more fun, and we can build reward into the days when it just feels like a bit of a grind, we're much more likely to get to where we want to be. So have a listen. And then at the end, I'm going to talk a little bit about Write Night, which is super fun. And if you're thinking of writing a book or anything substantial, then you definitely want to come and join us in Write Night. And I will see you there, I hope. But this week, we're talking about why you should do something hard. No smut, please. And the idea behind this podcast is, quite often people will say to me, well, why should I write a book? What's the big deal? Why should I write a book? Mm-hmm. There are many reasons to write a book, many, many reasons. People often ask me why I write a book. We're going to cover a bunch of them over the next few podcasts. Mm-hmm. So doing a little mini-series. But this episode, I want to talk about one of, I think, the really good and underrated reasons to write a book, which is simply because it's really bloody difficult.
Okay, that's a reason to do something.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is. Would you like to know why?
I would.
Okay. Why is it a good thing to do difficult things? It's a good question. Joe, what was it like training for your jiu-jitsu?
Unpleasant. Painful.
Difficult?
Difficult.
But ultimately rewarding.
Quite satisfying.
Because you won gold.
Yeah. That's just a marker of success, though. It's just a marker of progress, not...
Everybody loves the bling.
Yeah, it's quite good bling.
I've got a whole trophy up there on top of my bookcase that says that I was the best instructor trapeze person in the UK and the UK Aerial Performance Championships. Yeah, and that was really hard. That was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Do you remember when I was training for the Reflections show?
Yes.
And that was traumatic as well as difficult. And it was just really, really hard. And almost every session, it's really easy to just go, I'm not going to go in today.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go in today. I'll catch up tomorrow. And you don't do it. And, there's a bunch of reasons why you don't do it, but it's really, really good, I think, to do really difficult things. Not just because you've got that reward of winning your competition or whatever at the end, but because I kind of don't want to say character building because that's really wanky, but it's true. Hard things do shape who we are. Doing hard things.
They stretch what you're capable of.
They really do. They make us realise what we are truly capable of, which is far more than we think. It's really, really, really far more than we think. Because there's no way that... When I was training for the trapeze competition in September last year, I was at the studio pretty much every 6 days out of 7, wasn't I?
Pretty much, yeah.
And I was training for hours as well at a time. It wasn't just like going and do a quick... Some days it was going and do a quick run through, but other days it was like really intensive. I'm going to work on this bit over and over and over and over again until I just wanted to explode the world, because it was really hard. And sometimes it wasn't even a little bit fun, and sometimes it was really boring. Because I think if one of the things that I can't really remember where I read it, but one of the things I read recently was if you want to become super good at something, if you want to become really successful at something, you've got to be comfortable with being bored.
Right.
Because a lot of being good at something is just doing the same thing over and over and over again. So if you look at professional athletes, they will drill the same trainings and the same movements, and you know what I mean. They'll do it over and over again, and it's boring. It is boring because your brain craves stimulation, and if you're doing the same things repeatedly, you're not getting any of that stimulation. Mm-hmm. So it's much easier to kind of reach for Netflix or reach for your phone and mess around with Facebook or whatever. So yeah, it does. It teaches doing hard things. I think really teaches you what you're capable of, which is a lot more than you think.
Sure.
Would you agree?
I totally agree with that.
What other hard things have you done that have kind of made you realise that you're capable of a lot more than you thought?
Ooh, all kinds of things. The things I enjoy doing difficult things. I enjoy doing difficult things with people. So, like
being married to me, for
being
instance.
married to Vicky, always a challenge. Very difficult. Rock climbing.
Oh, rock climbing's a really good example.
Yeah. Because you get to go out with your mates and eat cake in the countryside, which is nice. But you also get to be in really strange places, in quite stressful situations, in fear of your life. That's kind of challenging.
Hi, Jamie. Jamie does rock climbing.
Yeah.
He does trad climbing because he too is a lunatic.
Trad climbing's ace. That's the best bit.
It's not. Okay, so here is like a hard thing. So we were trad climbing a few years ago, and it is a few years ago now. I haven't climbed for ages, and this is partly why. And we were out at Stanage Edge, which is a beautiful, beautiful, very famous rock climbing.
Even if you're not climbing, go and see Stanage Edge. It's lovely.
Good walks along there. It's fantastic. It's in Derbyshire, Yorkshire. No, Derbyshire.
Peaks,
yeah. Near Sheffield, Chesterfield. Anyway.
North of here.
Yeah, and we've gone out there to do some trad climbing, and trad climbing is, so if you've ever been rock climbing indoors, everything's bolted, it's really safe, even when you're leading, which means that you're clipping the rope as you go. Even when you're doing that, it's quite difficult to die.
Yeah.
You have to try quite hard.
You might crack an ankle or bust an elbow or something, but you're probably not going to die.
No. But trad climbing means that you are going up and putting your rope up and you're putting your gear in. There's no bolts, there's nothing to hang on to, and you probably will die.
You probably. So you're putting little aluminium wedges into cracks and then attaching your rope to that, and little spring-loaded things into holes, and it's
occasionally your head into a big crack.
It's a sketchier kind of experience than sport climbing, because in sport climbing the safety kit is not going to pop out of the wall.
No.
But in trad climbing, who the hell knows? Maybe.
Yeah, and that, my friends, is what makes it so horrifying, because I'd done a couple of really easy climbs and I'd led up and they were super easy, and I was like, oh, this is great, I'm feeling really confident, I'm gonna, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, right, what's the next one up? And I just went on to like another climb that was level of difficulty harder. And the other thing I didn't realise is that unlike indoor climbing, trad climbing difficulty goes up exponentially and not linearly. So I kind of gone up to the next level and it was considerably harder. And when I say harder, the climbing itself isn't the problem. If I'd had a rope up to the top, I would have run up it, it would have been fine.
Yeah, no problem at all.
But the problem is that it gets harder and harder to place the gear as well as the climb. My hands are, look at my hands. This is my sensory memory. If you can't see, I'm holding my hands up to the camera and showing you just how. I know, but that is my fear response, and that's me remembering what happened on that cliff face, because I had got halfway up, and it was about halfway up, wasn't it?
It was a little more than halfway up, which was the problem, really.
Yeah. I'd placed some slightly dodgy gear on the way up, but I hadn't. And then I got to a point where I was like, I don't know what happened, but I think it was a bit slippery, a bit greasy. The really overly climbed routes tend to get a bit greasy.
Yeah, people all over them.
Didn't help that I think there was a woman on a couple of climbs over absolutely shrieking like a banshee. I fucking wanted to punch her, which doesn't help because it's really hard to stay calm in the face of other people's panic, like wafting over you. Yeah. And I couldn't get my gear in.
So you've got an aluminium wedge, you're holding on with one hand, there's a crack somewhere nearby, and you're trying to make this thing stick in the crack so that you can put your rope through it.
Yeah.
And provide yourself with some modicum of safety should you fall off.
And one thing that you do when you place gear is you give it a bit of a tug. The problem with giving it a bit of a tug is if it falls out, and you haven't got a good grip on the rock, you're going to just fall off backwards. And bear in mind, I didn't trust anything at this point because I was not thinking.
The rational bit of your brain, the calm bit of your brain has just
it's shut down,
dribbled off over there somewhere.
It was screaming in a corner. It was quite literally rocking and screaming in a corner. And the problem with that is, I'm kind of laughing about it now, but if I had fallen off, I would have decked out on the floor.
You would have smashed into the ground.
I would have smashed into the ground, and I might well have died
from 40 feet up or something.
Yeah. So my fear wasn't entirely unjustified, but panic is never helpful. So what happened next was that I had decided that, fuck it, I'm going to die anyway, so I might as well just abandon all my gear and run for the top. And I basically free climbed.
Yeah, so what Vicky then did was this wedge that she failed to put into the crack, she just went, fuck it, nailed it into the crack, didn't put her rope through the clip, and just legged it for the top, basically.
I climbed in a panic. I think it's like...
And everyone on the ground who's trying not to freak Vicky out, because Vicky's clearly freaked, everyone on the ground is like looking at each other in horror, thinking, what on earth is she doing? Why didn't she clip that? Why is she doing this? And just like, okay, well, if she falls off at this point, it's a trip to the hospital, if we're lucky.
Yeah, and the problem with all of this is that when you're in that position, it's really difficult to think. Like, you can't think. It's really difficult. So those guys were all on the ground going, what is she doing? Why is she doing that? And all that's happening is that my lizard brain is screaming at me to get out of this situation, whatever way. Yeah. And the other weird thing that happens is that your brain is like, just let go. Just let go, just jump off. And so, I don't know if that's ever happened to you, but it's only happened to me a couple of times. That was one of them. And I had to fight the urge to just let go and jump off. Ship. Yeah, because it's like, I don't know, it was weird. But anyway, I made it to the top, didn't die, obviously. Still here to tell the tale. Made it to the top and just cried.
Just sobbed at the top.
Just cried. And then Joe came up afterwards and was like, that piece of gear that you placed was absolutely bomb-proof. You could have hung a house off it. And I didn't even clip my rope to it. So that was fun. Anyway, the whole point of telling that story is... But yeah, it is, because you know what? Even though I didn't deal with it very well, I did deal with it.
Didn't die. And the lesson that I took away from that is that Vicky doesn't do trad climbing. Did someone just walk past our window? No.
Okay. I think they did, and now I'm really properly freaked out. Our dingle is quite creepy at night, and I need curtains. So this is going to push up my curtain buying and making. Anyway, so hard things. It makes us realise what we're truly capable of, which is far more than we think, and sometimes a little bit less than we think. And it also makes us realise. It makes us appreciate what things are worth doing well. Mm-hmm. One of the things that's worth doing well is placing gear and then clipping your rope to it.
Maybe doing 20 climbs at a level before moving on to the next level.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Oh, I've stopped sweating now. Look. Oh my God. That memory. Oh, totally freaked out. Anyway, so yeah, do something hard write a book because it's hard. And it will make you realise that you are capable of writing actually really well. Because if you practice, you will get better at writing. It will make you realise what's important. Because as you write, and as you're doing this really difficult job, you'll realise what's important to you in your business and in how you serve your clients and customers and in where you want to go next and what you want to do. You will learn a lot about yourself while you're writing your book.
It's a huge learning experience, isn't it?
It is. It's so much, you will get out of it so much more than just a published book at the end of it. You really will. And another reason is because, you do realise what's important. And I think that's it. I think that's important in itself. That's too many importance.
Too many importance. Yeah.
Because the stuff that matters in life is difficult. You don't...
Yes.
Nothing that comes easily, really, is kind of long-term worth having.
Not particularly valuable if it just drops out of the sky into your lap.
Yeah.
That's great. It's very nice.
But you don't value it. It's like, I think that's probably... I know there's got to be a lot of research done into what happens to lottery winners and stuff, but I think that's probably why quite a lot of them don't really do very well in life after they've won an enormous sum of money. They haven't earned it. They've done nothing for that money. It's just landed on their laps, and it's I would imagine that's a bit of a weird place to be. Because I've often thought I don't think I would like to win the lottery. I was worried what it would do to me.
Oh, I kind of would.
Really?
Yeah, because I think I would be able to put loads of it. We'd be able to finish the dingle.
Again, no, I don't know. It would be too easy because one of them.
We'd still do it.
Yeah.
We'd still do it. It just wouldn't be slow.
Well, that's true. I don't know.
And then put the money in the bank and have a really nice pension.
That's a good example as well of something that's really hard. And, we knew that it would be hard to take on a house that needed this much work. We knew that. We didn't realise how hard it would be sometimes. Because I think the other day, after the great olive oil incident, I think you had enough of the place, hadn't you, for a couple of hours? And I've had a couple of moments where I'm like, I'm done. I'm done with this.
Yeah, dear listener, do not ever drop a litre bottle of olive oil onto a work counter, onto a kitchen counter, because that's horrific. Glass bottle broke and a litre of oil went everywhere. And
you had to clean it all up because I have this thing where I can't even have a massage because I can't stand the feeling of oil on my skin. And so there was no way I was going in that kitchen. And I kind of felt a little bit guilty, but also I didn't break it. So I'm really sorry about that.
Thanks.
But that was a hard thing that you did.
It was horrendous. It was absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
So anyway, back to, the important things in life being difficult. This dingle is really hard work. It's really expensive and it's incredibly rewarding.
But we are learning things and we're doing as much of it as we can ourselves.
And when it's finished, it's going to be magnificent. It's going to be magnificent. We're going to love it. And it's really tempting to give up when things get tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said earlier, we've both had days, I think, in the dingle where we're like, I'm just done. Let's sell it and buy something that doesn't need any work. And that would be easier. That would be easier to sell this place than to carry on doing it. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. It's easy to just decide that you're done with writing your book and that you'd rather go and watch Netflix, we are wired, it's human nature to give up when things get tough.
Yeah.
We are wired to be lazy and take the easy route because, we evolved in a time when food was scarce, resources were scarce, you had to eat as much as possible, save your calories, yeah. We are wired to be lazy. The human brain doesn't want to expend energy working its way through difficult problems when it can just sit and watch Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to sit and watch Netflix, but it's not important.
Other online streaming services are available.
Amazon Prime, for example. It's not important though. The sitting and watching Netflix, sometimes it's great. It's really enjoyable to spend an evening just taking your brain out and watching.
But how much better is it after you've, achieved your thing?
Yeah, much better.
Best bit of my week is Friday night after training at the club. We come home, we have a pizza and we have a beer and we watch Netflix.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I count on my knee. It's amazing.
And even then it's like, what we're watching on Netflix is not important, but the experience of just chilling out. Yeah. That's our treat for the week.
It's after a long, difficult week. It's after a good bit of physical exercise. I've probably been duffed up by a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, covered in other men's sweat.
I mean, I've had a shower, but
Yeah. It's easy to sit and do that kind of thing. I'm talking not as a treat though. It's much easier to do what I think the majority of people do, which is just turn their brains off, sit on the sofa and veg for the evening, and they do that most evenings.
I don't think our listeners are.
I don't think our listeners are normal people, no, but I think that normal people do that, and because it's easier, because it's the easier thing to do than to learn a new language or learn an instrument or run a business or any of the other things that we're all doing that normal people don't do. And I don't blame them for it because we're wired that way. But it's not important. If you write a book or learn to play a musical instrument or learn a new language, that's difficult. It's difficult, but ultimately it's really rewarding. And you learn what you can do. It also, writing a book also makes you see yourself in a different way as well.
Mm-hmm.
You will get to know yourself better. The way you write, the way you look at the world, your weird way of expressing ideas, if you're me. Talk about tiny beetle steps. Stuff that you just didn't notice before. And I think it teaches you how to think as well, and we're going to go into a bit more detail about that next week, on next week's episode. But I sometimes don't even know what I think about something until I've written about it.
Sure.
Because writing is thinking.
Writing is slowed down, serious thinking.
Yeah. And having to articulate.
You learn your subject better, you research around it, you become the expert, you articulate it clearly, you edit it, you sort it out, you do it well. I think it's a seriously developing behaviour.
Yeah. So when are you going to write your book? Anyway, moving swiftly on. So yeah,
Now I feel bad.
I think summing up, I don't think anybody ever really achieves great things if we just take the easy route the whole time.
No.
The people who are super successful, if success was easy, everybody would be successful, and everybody is not. Very few people are, really. And however you measure success by, it doesn't matter whether you measure it with how much money you've got in the bank or, what. I don't care what you measure it by, but I don't think most people would. If you want to achieve greatness, if it was easy, everybody would do it.
Everybody would do it, yeah. You're probably not going to achieve all of your goals by taking the easy route.
No, so if you want to be at the absolute top of your mountain, as I want to be at the absolute top of my mountain, then we've got to do the hard things. We've got to figure out how we get there and then do what we need to do. And that's the difficult part, because you've got to do it every single day. I write every single day. And even if it's only 100 words of gibberish, I still write every single day, because that is what I do. I am a writer. So if you want to, if you want to be at the top of your tree, if you want to be the person that everybody goes to in your industry, you've got to figure out how to get there, and then you've got to figure out what step you need to take, and then again, and then again.
And those steps might be training, it might be qualifications, it might be writing a book, it might be, being in the trenches, it might be taking on the big optimistic projects that you're really not sure about and they terrify you. It might be all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe all of those things.
Yeah. But you've got to do it. That's the point.
Yeah.
Especially if it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really rewarding. It's not immediately rewarding. Immediately, it's often really horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But, you do it anyway. And, we're not wired for future rewards. We are wired for instant gratification, which is why Facebook is so successful. Why processed foods do so well. You get that hit of salt and sugar.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You want to find a way to reward yourself immediately by doing the hard things now, which is quite a tricky feat, I think. So, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that episode about the value of doing hard things. And if you are thinking of doing a hard thing, like writing your book, I would love if you come and join us on Write Night on February the 24th, Thursday, February 24th at 7:30 p.m. UK time. So 4-hour writing party. You can find all the details at moxiebooks.co.uk/write night. But it's essentially 4 dedicated writing sessions, timed writing sessions. You come along, you bring a project that you want to work on. We work in community, we get the work done. And in between, I've got various writing prompts and little Q&A sessions if you want to ask me anything about writing or writing a book or creative writing. And also little creativity exercises and games as well, just to get us thinking. And you can join in as much or as little of that as you like. But one of the best things about it is just coming and meeting a bunch of amazing people. So come along, join us at Write Night, moxiebooks.co.uk/Write Night. I do these every 3 months and they are always super, super fun. So I will hopefully see you there. And Joe and I will be back same time next week with a brand new episode of the podcast. Thank you, as always, to Podfly for doing a sterling job of editing and putting this out there. Thank you to Harriet for getting it out there. And thank you to you, dear listener, for listening to this. Because without you, it would just be us shouting into the void. Same time next week. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening. You can find links and show notes on the website at moxiebooks.co.uk/podcast, where you can also sign up for the best daily emails in the multiverse and find loads of free resources to help you write your book. We'll be back the same time next week with more tales from the book writing trenches and the latest on what the tiny sheeps have been up to.